Is up, everybody? Welcome into the Quick and Dirty Training Camp Wrap-Up, one of the best practice days of the summer for gleaning information. Patriots and Panthers on the field, Phil. Banged out crowd. Good work for both sides. First thing I want to ask you about is, really, what was the energy level you perceived throughout this practice?
It was interesting because I thought through the first half hour or so, the Patriots were clearly the quieter team, whereas the Panthers, anytime there's a positive play made, they're whooping it up on the sidelines, they're rallying to each other to pick each other up off the turf. And so it looked like they were the more energetic team. But then, Tom, we've got a fracas.
Fracas!
Brouhaha! Skirmish, more than a skirmish, I would say. You had really almost every player from both teams involved either pushing and shoving or trying to break that thing up after Christian Wilkerson got into it with the Panthers sideline.
Here's how it all unfolded. Phil was watching Christian Wilkerson caught it on the far sideline over here, left sideline. Patriots offense, Panthers defense are here. Patriots defense, Panthers offense are over there. Skirmish over here. It appeared that after Christian Wilkerson caught the ball, Phil detected perhaps a go back to your huddle push from someone. Not sure who was a coach, might have been. Christian Wilkerson then sent back some words, and it was on. And as it got on, Patriots came across the field. It was a skirmish that included Kendrick Bourne. He's kind of squaring off and throwing punches. He got tossed. Wilkerson got tossed. All the players from the other field came on. So when there's 90 on each team, that's 180 individuals, plus coaches. So we're well over 200 people just milling like villains.
Yeah, and it continued. Listen, it continued. Then you got a little dust up with Trent Brown and some of the Panthers defensive linemen. James Ferentz ends up putting a defensive lineman from the Panthers on his back again over by the bench area for the Panthers. He gets tossed. So I think by the end of this thing, Matt Rule did say the Panthers players involved got tossed as well. So he probably had a half dozen or so players ejected from practice today. And I did think, just from our perspective, it did seem like that woke up the Patriots. You saw Devontae Parker make a big catch, spike it, spin it in front of a Panthers defender. You saw Jalen Mills make a big play and the team get excited. But it just felt like it took the fight to kind of, at least from our perspective, wake them up. Now, Adrian Phillips told us later, no. We had energy from the word go today. But just from our vantage point, it looked like it took that fight to really kind of wake up the Patriots.
And I wonder, it was interesting. Look, they had plenty of good moments, but it was the level of enthusiasm. And when we watched the first practice at training camp for the Patriots, they were over the moon. They were celebrating. They were noisy. They had infectious energy, really. And that, I thought, was the story of the first couple of days of practice, where it really set a tone for what the team's personality was. Since then, as things have bogged down, they've become a little bit more workmanlike, which I understand. You're not going to run for 1 yard or have Mac Jones running for his life and then go, woo, can't have it. Doesn't look great. But all that being said, it felt as if there was a much more workmanlike, businesslike aura around the Patriots during individual drills. But when they did get into team stuff, they were a bit more spirited, especially at the end in situational things. All that stuff aside, those intangibles, let's talk about what I think is one of the main on-field takeaways, and that is we got to see the Patriots experiment with their new offense against the Panthers.
Yeah, it looked like it got a little traction early in practice today. The first competitive 11-on-11 period, you saw that Shanahan-style wide zone run to Damian Harris. 4 yards, sort of a ho-hum gain, but a positive gain. 2nd and 6. They give a very similar look, similar action, but Mac Jones pulls it away from Harris. Little bootleg pass down the field over the middle to Jacoby Myers for about 15 yards. And that right there, in a nutshell, is what they've been working on relentlessly since the spring. And so to see it actually play out, one play leading to the next, and have it lead to 2 consecutive positive gains, the offensive line does its job on not only the run play, but providing pass protection as well. That's what they've been looking for. It feels like for weeks. It was just a 2-play snapshot, but it was probably the best 2-play sequence when it comes to those newer plays, those newly emphasized concepts, I should say. The best 2-play sequence of that stuff all summer.
Yeah, it's basically they executed perfectly. Je m'appelle Tom. Je m'appelle Tom. And there was no hiccup at all. Everybody got it. Everybody understood it. My name is Tom. So that's a good building block. You can't say your name. You can't run it. If you can't run the little stretch play and then the bootleg whack off it, you're not going to be executing either. Some of the high points of the day, Phil, an individual Sessions. The Patriots cornerbacks were outstanding. Not only were they sticky, but Baker Mayfield and Sam Darnold could find no windows to throw. They were outstanding. So that's Jalen Mills, who had an excellent day in 11 on 11 too. Miles Bryant, I thought was especially good. Marcus Jones, and then a little bit of Jack Jones, but
I thought John Jones late in the practice was right where he needed to be in coverage as well.
I got lost in my Joneses.
A lot of Joneses out there. And they all played well. I thought this was a great day for the Patriots defense. Dietrich Wise, to me, really popped. I thought he had multiple sacks in the team period. Saw Josh Uche get into the backfield a couple of different times. They had a pass deflected at the line of scrimmage during the hurry-up period at the end of practice, competitive period, that was intercepted by Sean Wade, who had himself a pretty good practice today. So defensively for the Patriots, not many issues, not a lot of complaints. And I thought, again, Adrian Phillips had an insightful comment at the end talking about Jalen Mills in particular, who had a handful of balls that he got his hands on, saying he wants to be the guy now. J.C. Jackson's gone. He's looking to get to that next level, talking about Mills. He didn't say the words number one corner, but that's the implication there. And today he looked like a number one guy.
Devon Godshaw, also a name that I didn't really key on him, but I heard enough of our other reporters here cite that he had a good practice as well. So another guy with a Davante Parker, had a really, really good practice. Really good in one-on-ones, and he caught at least two kind of high point 50-50 balls, which Davante Parker said, 50-50 balls to me, they're more like 80-20 balls. So
they really have been. I mean, I would criticize him for kind of using the obvious joke there, the obvious cliche, but they have been. Every time they float him a pass, if it's within his catch radius, he, generally speaking, gets his hands on it. He high points the thing and he comes down with it. So in those situations, it's going to be red zone. It's going to be third down. Anytime there's a one-on-one with him on the outside, I'd feel pretty comfortable if I was Mac Jones floating it up to him.
So fully padded practice. What time to go until?
It was 9:30 till past 12. It was almost till 12:30, I bet.
That's a long-ass practice.
Over 2 hours for sure.
I'm hungry. Bye.